Welcome to the Walker Art Center. An important part of its mission as a multidisciplinary art center is to present artwork from around the globe. Upstairs in Galleries 4, 5, and 6, you will discover Brave New Worlds, an exhibition that features artists from 17 countries ranging from Eastern Europe to East Asia and from North Africa to South America.
We came upon Brave New Worlds as the exhibition title because we felt that the expression in everyday parlance carries a level of ambivalence. It's both hopeful but also critical. And we felt that this was a proper title because in front of us was a range of approaches of art making that are also critical and hopeful towards the world. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World is a vision of one dead end of modernity in which people are engineered to be perpetually happy. So at first it seems utopian, but it turns out to be ultimately very dystopian. And what we wanted to do in the exhibition is to express a range of concepts that are meant to operate as a corrective to that concept. Thus, we made it into a plural.
Brave New Worlds presents a remarkable array of artistic voices. They are connected by a sense of curiosity, inspired by three central questions: how to know the world, how to experience the world, and how to imagine the world. The artists address these inquiries through subjects such as national identity, migration, human rights, and political conflict. In doing so, they encourage us to reflect on the realities facing us as individuals and as a society.
We choose to go to LA to make a Hollywood movie. The film is about the war, but people here are so shy and so introverted and they don't say anything. And the war is, Americans are in war, but nobody knows anything about war. Everything went on a superficial level. So we couldn't get into the surface. In the beginning it was okay, it was LA. LA is cool, relaxed, and we make such heavy projects. We were happy to be relaxed and superficial. But after 2 or 3 months, we really wanted to go through the surface. It was not possible. Even after 4 months, we really stayed on one level. Our films, they are not so much about art. There's funny people, there are depressed people, there are all kinds of situations, hilarious and depressed and funny and slow and quick. And these films need another environment than the white cube. So that's also why I want to make a different room.
I more see things like fill in the blanks. I mean, I kind of imagine like there's a text when I wander around or walk in the world, like travel or see things, it's like always try to fill those blanks. The Determined Barber is a title for a military exercise ground in Glamoch. Basically, after the Dayton Agreement, the S4, the stabilization forces, went to the area and needed to be there to stabilize the things. So they found the land and then they said, okay, we want to build a military exercise ground here. And then on that time, there were some houses there. And of course, wartime, a lot of displacement, so people left their house, so they looked empty. So they demolished them, and they built Barbara on the land. And after some time, people came back to look for their house, and there was no house.
This part of the strategy I have mostly the last 5 years, meaning I'm coming to a place with no idea, basically, with no fixed plan. And then I'm giving a space and I'm filling it with the story of the place I am. The story of the place is also the story of the moment in the world. There are always like stories connected with politics and social situation. And what I'm doing is exactly what's happening to every of us. It's not like you don't have every day like a main story. You have a multitude of stories in your head and around you. So it's like a big mixture. So I try to put this mixture there on the same wall, like very delicate issue with very, very simple or stupid or, so it's a big melange.
I
have two pieces. One is a plan for a knowledge museum based on 7 departments. Body, earth, universe, then culture, knowledge in general, and science. Then I have my art history. It's a very short, very kind of capsule of information. First, I was curious to understand the world. Then I start to collect all kinds of objects from museums. All the time I'm looking for intelligent objects. If you look at these objects, what kind of message these shops want to give us, you know? My work, it's more about creating sense. I don't like to criticize. I like to build. I see problems, I don't want to mention them. It's not enough, it's not for me. I like to find solutions.
That's an installation with lots of devices which stimulates your senses and heart, I guess. The subtitle, which is Blind Room, is important to recognize this work out of the whole series. Is a kind of an idea of me having this installation that you share something, but you don't really share the specific messages. You share the heat experiences, but you have a totally different kind of associations. It's totally different than reading the novel. So these common and different experiences taking place in a surrounded zone by the blinds.
Creating and making art requires taking a courageous position towards adversity. And in that sense, the artists in this exhibition, in one way or another, all propose an invitation to imagine a world different than the one we know. A world where we could coexist, we can engage in dialogue with one another, and we can do that through art and the experience of looking at their work.
What I think gravitates in my work is a very profound sense of dislocation, which has to do with if I go to film a place, eventually I end up dislocating the place. So what I did is I went to a very specific place, the headquarters of the Communist Party in Paris, and specifically I was interested in two things. One was obviously the building in itself and the architect who made it, which is Oscar Niemeyer, a Brazilian architect. And then specifically of the building, the dome. So he built this first grid of neon, and then he made this second grid of a metal structure. And from there he hanged these beautiful sort of aluminum plaquettes in white. So basically when you turn on the light just bounces, beautifully everywhere. The system is extremely, extremely geometric. And I film it trying to transfer every notion of space into image.
The film Timelines, it's an attempt to try to consolidate something about the cinematic in relation to the real. The work tries to deal with this kind of imaginary plane of looking, this impossible position also of looking, and how the camera or the mind's eye can get you there. This sort of transition from one sort of place, which is already like a kind of strange platform sort of suspended in the air, to another place through the travel along a wire, looking at ideas of how can the imagination be very much stronger than certain dark realities, or how can poetic sort of gestures try to maybe sweep aside things that are very sort of like heavy realities, and somehow maybe that in itself could deal with a lot of things that we could talk about, harsh realities of the present day.
During the raining season, it rains and then it covers all the surface, which is completely flat. It's like 220 kilometers. You lose the perception a little bit where you are. And then what's happening is when it rains, it covers all these kilometers with like 2 or 3 centimeters of water, and then you get all the clouds reflected on the water. Maybe the reference to this work is a little bit the clouds.
which at the same time enclose another volume of air in the interior, and it should be flying when it's getting a little bit in a bigger scale only by solar energy. And at the same time, inside it's possible to have some plants, so like a kind of transcontinental Amazon flying over over the world, something like this. In this relationship, it's like a kind of paradox, and somehow I'm trying to direct the attention toward a little bit the fragility and the sensibility and the synergetic of today toward the environment where we live.
The film focused how the workers, their dream in the factory, because most workers from the inside of China, and because they want to realize their dream, they go to the big city, have their work. And you can see how the global world make the China, the world factory running around. So also the factory concept is I'm interesting about that. Everybody is the same. We have the same level. Also, we have the same eyes. The problem is we in the different situation, but we have the same feeling in the whole world because we in the different part. Like the factory production line, we have a different precision. Somebody make the light bulb, somebody make the glass, somebody make the electronic things. It's different.
I always think about them as particular nightmares. I always was attracted by images of the apocalypse and these situations when it seems that the world is very close to the end. I always, with my works, to create this feeling of maybe an instability and maybe the idea that something in every moment can completely stop. I don't want to consider my works as a response to the world. I prefer them to be something that starts in my mind and then goes outside. But as they start in my mind, it is made with material that comes from outside. I can't avoid that those images are produced by the external world.
And in fact, it's a cowboy hat, very expensive cowboy hat, turned upside down. I fill it with black used car oil. And it's like talking mirror, like from the fairy tales. It can tell truth or it can lie. It's illegal to burn flags, so I didn't want it to burn a certain flag to state, because it's beyond nationality, you know, it's about disappearance. It shows a nest of birds, but the branches in which it's put is showing like a winter time. And in fact, the nest starts to having little flowers. It's like a miracle, if you want to say. No, because the nest, it don't get flower in the winter, you know, and even the nest, because they are dead branches.
I started to use a pinhole camera because I can take a photo without a lens. Now everything is going to digital, so photo is very, very easy to take. The meaning of photography is changing a lot. If I use a digital camera, then losing kind of magic. I wanted to believe the camera. I wanted to imagine what I can take. I want to believe the world have a value to live. For me, it's one way to believe the value of the world.
Brave New Worlds gives us a look at the many ways in which artists work today and how their practice embraces the complexities of modern life.
We had this great opportunity to bring 24 artists to one place, and the only requirement that we had for their work is that their work is responsive and responsible to the world.